today, and it was decided that very clearly it was in the interests of the shareholders and the company that the shares be bought by a preferential issue of Maruti equity in favor of Suzuki Motor Company, equivalent to the book value of the MSG shares, subject, of course, to all the other regulatory and statutory compliances which may be required. And we explained in the press note, I hope you've had time to go through it, why we came to this conclusion that whether it was in terms of the PAT of Maruti Suzuki, whether it was in terms of earnings per share of Maruti Suzuki, whether it was in terms of the dividend per share of Maruti Suzuki. In all these respects, the swap option would give the shareholder a better deal than any other option. So that is the basic position. We will, of course, go to the shareholders to get minority shareholder approval for all the three transactions, namely the termination of the CMA, the decision to purchase the shares from Suzuki, and that this purchase should be done by a preferential issue of equity in favor of Suzuki. All of these decisions will go before the minority shareholders for approval, followed by also in the same meeting, of course, of the shareholders, a special resolution for issue of preference shares, because that is what the law requires. So that is the fundamental purpose of informing you of these decisions and the reasons. And I don't think I need to make a long statement. I'm open to questions on any aspect of this transaction that you want to ask. The team is here, the managing director is here, the CFO is here, and Rahul Bharti, you know, he is here. So we're all here to answer your questions. So please go ahead. Anything else anybody would like to add? Takis-san, Ajay?
No, it's perfectly fine. So please go ahead.
Okay, let's get questions.
Sure, sir. So, Munish, please ask your question. Munish from PTI, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes. Good afternoon, sir. My question is regarding what kind of stake dilution will happen in this arrangement of share sale to SMC?
The exact dilution we will only know when the date of the AGM is fixed. But in a broad sense, if you go by the book value of SMG on the 31st, I mean, the last audit was done at the end of the last financial year, and the Maruti shares on the 23rd of June, I think we've taken as the reference date. Ajay, would you give an exact dilution amount, please?
We have taken 30th June as a cutoff date, and the percentage dilution is slightly overall over 4%, and accordingly, Suzuki's share will be about 1.8%.
Okay. Okay. All right, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other question? You can please come forward, ask your question.
I'm through, Nirja-san. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Munish-san. Any other participant, please come forward. Yes, Pankaj-san, please ask your question. You can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Sir, good afternoon. Hi, Pankaj. Sorry, I actually was trying to connect. I couldn't connect earlier. But what is this thing about the stake sale? First thing, And also, I wanted to understand that, what was the rationale of doing this? Because, previously, when the plant was being built by Maruti, then it had gone to, it had been given to Suzuki. And now, for certain reasons, it's coming back to Maruti. So, what was that need that came up suddenly that, this had to be done? Both the things. Then stake sale I kind of missed because I think I could join earlier. So I was trying.
So we had explained in the last press conference on the 31st of July
Yeah.
why the board had decided that we now needed to terminate the CMA and
Mm.
buy the shares and merge or make SMG, the Gujarat operations, a subsidiary operation company operating with Maruti. But to answer your question, Pankaj,
Mm.
times change. What is good today may not be good 10 years later. And one of the requirements for any management is to keep aware of what is changing in the world, what circumstances are changing, what overall conditions are changing, and react in time to those conditions and take appropriate actions and to see that you are always ahead of the curve, not behind it. When we did this project in 2015, which is when it started, but we had started, of course, much earlier than that, Maruti was still at a very comparatively much smaller operations. And at that time, there was a great need for us to concentrate on building a strong marketing and sales network, strengthening our organization, strengthening our resources. A lot of things had to be done. And Suzuki at that time was in a position to offer and do this project on our behalf. We accepted this, and the shareholders accepted this option because it was clear that it would be of financially great benefit to us. But besides the financial benefit, and we've realized, I think, 5,000, something between 5 and 6,000 crores of extra profit because we didn't invest then, we had the cash with us. And in addition to that, we got time to build our own strength and our own organization because Suzuki did the work of erecting and commissioning the projects and running these plants and bringing in the kind of technology which was needed. Now we have reached a stage where we are a very different company. We are already at 2 million cars. We are moving towards 4 million cars. We have multiple technologies to handle today because the world has changed in terms of technology because of the carbon footprint. We have EVs, we have hybrids, we have ethanol, we have CNG, we possibly have biogas. We have to handle these. We have very many more different models to handle. We have EV cars, we have SUVs, and we have the CNG cars which are growing in large numbers. So we have different type of models. We will have a much larger number of models by the time we get 2030. There is no company in the world, Pankaj, no single company under a single management which handles 4 million cars under a single management. And we have to reorganize Maruti to deal with the requirements of the management and the technologies which are to be faced in the next 10 years. To do that, it's really not possible to efficiently work the whole system and efficiently organize production, supply chain, everything. If one part of our production facilities are with a different company, which was SMG, and the rest is with Maruti. So in order to facilitate our ability to reorganize everything in a manner which would lead to smooth and efficient working in the future years, we adopted this decision to merge SMG with us. And the method of merging, and this was provided incidentally in the contract manufacturing agreement, that at any time the two parties, by consent of each other, could terminate the agreement and then Maruti would have the option of taking over all the shares of Suzuki in SMG. So this situation was visualized even earlier. It's not that it was not visualized. And the method of doing it, we worked out in today's circumstances, as the press note shows and the calculation show, it is far better for the shareholder if we do this by a share swap than by cash payment.
Last time there was a lot of issues with the investors once you had made that decision. So this time, have the investors given you some kind of an approval, or are you going to approach the investors now with this new plan that this is how you intend to go about it?
We haven't met the investors yet. We've just taken the decision today.
Right.
But from what we saw after the last board meeting reactions, and you must have seen those, the press reports and things, most people seem to be quite happy with this decision to merge. And I haven't come across, actually, I don't think I saw any single report from anywhere which said that this is a bad decision to merge. Rahul, has there anything in the press on the press?
We've got almost a universal positive. We have not heard anything to the contrary so far.
Yeah.
So would you be approaching the investors also with this
Of course,
plan
of
now
course.
after this?
We are, as I mentioned in the press quote, Pankaj, we are treating this again all as a related party transaction. There was a divided legal opinion as to whether these were really related party or not. But in our usual approach to good corporate governance, we decided that we will go to the shareholders again. We will again explain to all the shareholders why we are doing this, and the entire transaction, the termination, the buying the shares, and the share swap, will explain all of this to shareholders. We'll take the approval of the minority shareholders and then proceed further.
Thanks, Pankaj San. Thanks. I'll request Janvi Lada to come forward and ask her question. Janvi, please unmute your mic and ask your question.
Hello sir, this is Janvi from Z Business. तो मेरा मतलब सवाल इन्वेस्टर पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से ये है कि तो मतलब आप ये डिसीजन एज अ कैश की तरह भी ले सकते थे, मतलब इनडायरेक्टली सुजुकी का स्टेक जो कंपनी में है वो बढ़ जाएगा, तो मतलब फ्यूचर में और क्या सुजुकी इसमें टेल अस लाइक इसके पीछे क्या रैशनल था, और क्या सुजुकी फ्यूचर में भी वापस स्टेक इंक्रीज देख सकती है?
देखिए, इसमें सुजुकी का स्टेक इंक्रीज करने का मकसद नहीं है। हमें ये देखना था कि हमारे शेयर होल्डर्स के लिए, और हमारी कंपनी मारुति सुजुकी है, हमारी कंपनी सुजुकी जापान नहीं है। हालांकि सुजुकी जापान का स्टेक इसमें जरूर 56% के करीब है फिलहाल, मगर कंपनी ये मारुति सुजुकी है, इसमें सुजुकी का भी हिस्सा है और 44% शेयर होल्डर्स का भी हिस्सा है। तो हम जो फैसले लेते हैं वो माइनॉरिटी शेयर होल्डर्स के इंटरेस्ट को आगे रख के लेते हैं, बिकॉज गुड कॉर्पोरेट गवर्नेंस यही कहती है कि मेजॉरिटी शेयर होल्डर को माइनॉरिटी शेयर होल्डर्स का पूरा ख्याल रखना चाहिए। और इस वजह से जो फैसला लिया गया है वो इसलिए इस मकसद से नहीं है कि सुजुकी का स्टेक बढ़े या नहीं बढ़े, वो एक साइड कॉन्सिक्वेंस और रिजल्ट है इसका। मेन डिसीजन ये था कि किस तरीके से आगे बढ़ने के लिए, आगे प्रोडक्शन बढ़ाने के लिए, आगे कॉम्पिटिटिव एबिलिटी बढ़ाने के लिए, आगे मैनेजमेंट की सहूलियत बढ़ाने के लिए किस तरह से कंपनी को रीऑर्गेनाइज किया जाए, गुजरात का क्या किया जाए, और जब अगर उसको हमारे साथ मिलाना है तो कौन सा तरीका सबसे ज्यादा शेयर होल्डर्स के फायदे में होगा। और जो आज फैसला लिया है वो शेयर होल्डर्स का इंटरेस्ट देखते हुए लिया गया है, ना कि सुजुकी का इंटरेस्ट देखते हुए।
Thank you sir. Thank you.
Thank you. May I now request Hanada San, please ask your question.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good
I also
afternoon.
would like to ask about the ratio or about the stake. So currently, Suzuki have about 56% share of the Maruti Suzuki, and after this upcoming transition has completed, roughly speaking, how many percentage do you expect that Suzuki will have the stake of the Maruti?
I believe the calculations show that Suzuki will go up to something 58 point some percent. Ajay, exactly, do you have the
58.
figure?
I mean, if we look at the current calculations, I mean, exact will be decided when we have the relevant date, but as per current calculations, 58.28. So 56.48 is the current stake, which will go up to 58.28.
Okay,
It will change
58.8 now. Okay, thank you.
58.28. 58.28.
58.
But this will not be the final figure because the final figure will be decided on the basis of the book value of SMG and the Maruti share price on the appointed date, which will be when we decide, the board decides to call the AGM.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. May I now request Rajkumar Leshamba, please come forward, ask your question.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Radha. I just want to elaborate a bit on my
Sorry,
question.
Raj, your
This
audio
will be,
is not so
It's
good.
breaking, the voice is
We can't
breaking.
hear you.
okay. Am I audible now?
Yeah, better.
Yes.
Okay. So, sir, what I was asking was when you mentioned that it will be for the benefit of shareholders of Maruti that you are going to swap. So, if you could just elaborate a little bit more as to how, that is one thing that I want to understand. And also, in your annual report, also, and you also just mentioned, hinted about the structural reorganization. Does that mean that with Suzuki increasing its stake, there'll be more of a more Japanese management coming in into Maruti Suzuki?
No, I think you have misunderstood the management now, which was Japanese management in SMG, will now become Indian management. It will become Maruti Suzuki management. So it certainly does not imply more Japanese management coming in. And what the first part of the question, I couldn't quite follow. The voice was not very. What was the first part of the question?
I was just asking for a little bit more elaboration on how this preferential issue will be will benefit the Maruti Suzuki shareholders when you
Kumar, if you
chose
look at the calculations which we have given to you, they are of course based on certain hypothetical figures and assumptions, but they are not too far away from the actual reality of what would happen if we assume either profits will be higher or lower, things like that. But there you will see that whether it is in terms of the total profit of Maruti or in terms of the earnings per share, and earnings per share are important for determining the market price of the shares and for the dividend which we will pay per share, assuming the same payout ratio, whether it's a cash deal or a swap deal. In all three instances, for the shareholder is concerned with the share price, he is concerned with the dividend payment. In both these respects, he is better off with the share swap option than with the cash option. That's shown in those calculations. If you have any questions about those calculations, our people are here. We'll be happy to answer the questions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'll now request Atul Ranjan, please come forward, ask your question. Kindly unmute your mic. If you can switch on your video, that will be nice. Mr. Atul Ranjan, yes, please ask your question.
So just clarification, this current book value of SMG is at around 12,700 crore. So as and when you exercise your options, this preferential share you buy do this thing. So will there be a significant change from this book value, or it will be around that only, 12,700 crore?
There will be, I think, a very marginal change because only the depreciation which happens between the 1st of April and the date on which the board meets. And the board meeting will happen, let's say, sometimes maybe in September or early October, I'm not sure yet, but maybe in that period. It's only about 2 months away. So the depreciation for roughly 6 months will come into play, that's all.
Okay.
Not much. I think it'll make a difference of maybe at best a few 100 crores, Ajay?
Yes, I mean, it'll depend on the depreciation that we will incur.
How much is the depreciation in a year?
About a 1,000 crore, between 700 to 1,000 crore. That would be the amount for this period. And any capex that would be added during this period could be the add-on. So we'll have to see exactly the capex minus the depreciation.
We need the audited balance sheet on to be exactly sure what it is.
Ajay, this book value does not have this concept of profit and loss, right?
There is no profit or loss in Gujarat.
Okay.
It's always been running on a no profit, no loss, no surplus basis.
Sir.
So that question will never arise anyway.
Sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Atul. Vinay, please come forward. Vinay Kulbe, please ask your question. Please switch on your video if you can.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please ask.
Okay. So I just wanted to add on to the financial parameters that earlier people were talking about. So I just wanted to understand because Maruti has already said they are looking to conclude this transaction within this ongoing fiscal, and just wanted to understand what kind of impact there will be on the top line and on the margins of the company.
I don't think this transaction is going to make any significant difference to the top line at all, because we are already selling the total production of SMG through Maruti.
Yes.
We'll continue to do that. So the top line will remain exactly the same. The ownership of MSG does not affect the sale of a single car by us. So the top line remains exactly the same. The margins also are not going to be affected by who owns the car or who owns the company, especially in the swap option. If it was the cash option, the profit amount could get affected because then there would be an interest loss. But since we are not suggesting to the shareholders that they go for the cash option, the total profit of the Maruti will also not be affected at all by this transaction.
Got it. So there are also not any tax benefits or accumulated losses that are going to accrue to Maruti Suzuki in this?
The Maruti is not going to have any liabilities relating to tax and all coming to us. No. Is that right, Ajay?
So there are no disadvantages to us because there would be some unabsorbed tax, depreciation tax that will be there in their books, which will be carried forward. So which is allowed as per the income tax rule. So we can carry that forward. So I don't think there will be any disadvantage or anything that will be missing on. It'll be status quo for us. We can carry it forward.
Also, just wanted clarification on a few things. So we saw that the exchange filing that has come out, it assumes a certain parameters that how will the profit grow and what will be the interest growth on the percentage terms. So I just wanted to understand what is the basis of all these assumptions that are coming in on that front.
The base profit is what we actually made in 22-23. That figure everybody knows is the figure which was announced after the meeting. We have assumed an annual growth of profit of 12.5%. Now, it's not a Maruti projection at all of what will happen. We have just taken a figure because some figure had to be taken. And 12.5% actually is the compound annual growth rate of profits over the last 10 years. So that's the basis of taking it, but it does not mean, Vinay, that this is actually what's going to happen. These are not our official estimates of profit, let me say, which we are projecting, this is all hypothetical. It's on certain assumptions. That's why we've said assumptions and disclaimers. So please don't go that these are real figures. The point which is you should note is that whether you put 12.5% or 10 or 7.5 doesn't matter. The basic outcome will be similar.
Thanks, Vinay.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'll now request Swaraj, please ask your question. If you can switch on your video, that will be nice.
Sorry, is it okay if I switch?
It's okay, sir. Go ahead. Yeah.
Bhargav-san, just wanted to understand what will be the regulatory requirements for the deal to go forward?
As far as I know, and somebody can correct me if I'm missing out something, we need the majority of minority shareholders to approve this. The fair value of the shares of SMG has also to be worked out by a valuer, because the Reserve Bank says that you cannot pay more than the fair value. So we have to work out the fair value also. And what else, Ajay, will be regulatory?
So I think the major one is the majority of minority shareholder approval and the FEMA regulations, as we've already mentioned. There are some filings that we have to do with SEBI subsequently. That's it. I think these are the major ones. The other are minor filing issues that happen subsequent to the issue of shares. Stamp duty payment, etc., will happen subsequent to.
Raj, in any case, we have consultants and lawyers to help in making sure that we comply with everything.
Right. I'm sure, sir. Just but NCLT and CCI approval are not required?
It's not a merger. It's
No,
not a merger. That's required in case of a merger only.
Right. Okay. And sir, maybe if you can just throw some light on the total investment that SMC made in SMG in the since 2014 till now.
Ajay, do you have the figure?
Yeah. So the total investments, I may be a little approximate, but it's about 18,000 crores. And where we are seeing the net book value today is 12,755. Rest is what has got depreciated over the period.
Right. Okay. And lastly, sir, with the additional asset now coming on the books of MSIL, there would be it would influence the capex cycle or capex allotment that MSIL has maybe in the next few years. If you can throw some light on that as well.
Well, why would it do that? It has not. That capex is already done. What our capex plans are for expanding production by 2 million up to 2031, that remains unchanged. No impact.
Okay.
And our annual capex, which we do in Maruti, which is somewhere between 3,500 and 5,000 crores, that will continue. It is nothing changes.
Got it, sir. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Swaraj. Sharmishta, please come forward, ask a question. If you can switch on your video, it will be nice.
Yes. Hi, sir.
Hi.
Hi. Sir, I wanted to understand two things. One is that Maruti Suzuki got selected under the Champion OEM scheme for PLI. Suzuki Motor Gujarat and Maruti Suzuki in the auto component part. So, will this acquisition impact those in any way, like the applications you have to make under PLI? And secondly, there has been a lot of confusion over PLI the last few months due to issues of certification. So what is your view on that?
Who will answer that? I have no idea about PLIs.
Right. The acquisition, even when we made the application for the auto scheme, the EV scheme, that time we had informed government very clearly that the production will be at SMG and the sale will be by Maruti. So it is, kindly treat this as one application. So nothing changes here.
Okay.
In fact, the integration makes it simpler. Sorry, I missed your second question.
Sir, and also, like, last few months, there has been a lot of confusion on the SOPs which have been released. They came in a little late, and subsequently, the certification could not happen to avail of subsidies for the first year under PLI. So, is there some resolution or your views on this entire issue?
See, I think, in fact, the government has made it clearer than before. Earlier, the localization norms were not clear. Now they are far clearer. So it helps industry qualify for those localization norms. And particularly, Maruti is committed to localization. So we support it, and we thank the government for this clarity.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Sharmishta. I now request Mr. Murli Gopalan San. Please come forward, ask a question.
Nija, thank you.
Thanks.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bhagwan. Hope you're doing
Good
well.
afternoon.
Yeah. Just a simple, straightforward question from my end. You did say SMC had invested 18,000 crores in SMG. So after this entire thing, this operation, this process is done, would it naturally be a profitable exit for the parent company?
I have no idea. It's for them to worry about, not me. Why should I worry about their profitability?
No, true, but from the parent company's point of view, the investments they have made.
I don't know anything about the finances of the parent company. I'm not supposed to know it.
Fair point.
All I know is that as far as we are concerned, we have a good deal. Last 10 years also, we've had a good deal. Whether it's a good deal for Suzuki, Suzuki should worry, not me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Murli sir. Ketan, please come forward, ask your question. If you could switch on your video, it will be nice. Yes, please ask your question, Ketan.
Where else in the world that you've had an organization of this size operating in the kind of structure that it is right now? With the merger, the operation, doesn't it become a lot more bigger? And and hence, if it becomes bigger, how does operationally things change? Just curious, because as against having multiple entities, you're going to have one large entity. So was there a need for carving out a separate unit, or the rationale was to, club everything under one unit?
No, the size of the operation as far as marketing, sales, service, supply chain is exactly the same. We were handling all of that. The only difference will be that the operations of the production function and the production planning and the production scheduling and the coordination of production between Gujarat and Manesar and Gurgaon and in future Kharkhoda, that will be done by Maruti in a unified manner. That was one of the advantages we were looking for, Ketan, that we should not have to deal with a different entity for these areas. Yes, it will require that some of the management staff of Suzuki, which is there in Gujarat today, will get replaced by Indian management staff. The workers and all are all the same, nothing changes there. But some of the managers and all which are posted from Japan, they will go back and we will replace them with our managers. I think that operationally is the only significant difference which will take place. Takichi-san, am I right?
Yes, that's correct. Currently, Suzuki Motor Gujarat, some of the management position occupied by the expats from Japan. Maybe that not so soon, but gradually that will be replaced by the MSIL management.
Right, so it allows you to kind of take decisions more quicker and in a unified fashion.
Exactly, because now it's a single entity. And we don't have to worry about dealing with a company with whom there is always that regulatory issue of related party and it's a different company and all that. just within the same company now.
Just for clarity purpose, sir, on the